The grand ballroom of the Fairmont Hotel shimmered under the glow of crystal chandeliers, casting thousands of golden sparkles across the polished marble floor like scattered stars. I stood near the entrance, feeling slightly out of place in my emeraldy evening dress, a choice that had taken me 3 agonizing hours in the store, yet I still questioned if it was elegant enough for this opulent setting. Beside me was Darius Benton, dressed in a simple dark suit, devoid of the flashy diamond cufflinks or gold watches that adorned nearly every other man in the room. There was an understated confidence about him that drew eyes without effort. As we stepped inside, the security staff straightened up immediately, their postures snapping to attention as if royalty had arrived. The first person to approach us was a gray-haired man in a tailored tuxedo, someone I recognized from Glossy magazine, photos as the owner of a massive chain of shopping malls. He extended his hand eagerly to Darius, completely bypassing me, and engaged in a brief, respectful conversation. I scanned the room, trying to acclimate to this world of glittering crystal, glasses and flowing champagne, where conversations buzzed with deals worth millions and laughter echoed with practiced charm. That's when I spotted him, Andre Talbot, my ex-husband, standing casually by the bar, a champagne flute in his hand. Clinging to his arm was Kiana, dressed in a provocative short red dress that screamed for attention. Andre was whispering something to her, his face twisted in that smug smile he wore when he felt on top of the world, even though he was only here as a +1 to some wealthy acquaintance. Our eyes locked across the room. I watched as the color drained from his face. He blinked rapidly as if doubting his own vision, and his grip loosened on the glass. It tumbled from his fingers, shattering against the floor with a sharp, deafening crash that cut through the ambient chatter. Champagne sprayed outward, and Kiana let out a shrill shriek, jumping back to avoid the splash. Heads turned, but I remained rooted in place, staring at the man who just 1 year ago had callously thrown me and our 1-year-old daughter out into the freezing cold, leaving us with nothing but despair. To truly grasp why this evening marked a turning point in my life, I need to rewind to that fateful night 1 year earlier, the darkest chapter I had ever endured. It was January, and the winter in Atlanta that year was unforgiving. Outside our cramped rented efficiency apartment on the south side of the city, the thermometer plunged to a bone-chilling 1 degree. Radiators inside barely functioned, offering only faint whispers of warmth that did little to combat the icy drafts. Seeping through the thin walls, I had bundled our daughter, Aaliyah, in 2 thick blankets, but fear gnawed at me that it wouldn't be enough to shield her from the cold. She was just 1 year and 2 months old, having recently taken her first wobbly steps while clutching onto furniture for support. Her first word had been "Mama," uttered in a tiny, melodic voice that filled my heart with unbridled joy every time I heard it. That evening I was rocking her gently, hoping she would drift off to sleep amid the quiet hum of the apartment. Around 11 p.m., I heard the familiar fumbling at the door, Andre struggling with the lock, muttering curses under his breath. Drunk again, I thought with a sigh, peering out from the bedroom. We had been married for 4 years, and in the beginning, he had seemed so reliable, a serious man with ambitious dreams, childhood friends with the affluent Vincent Everett. He painted vivid pictures of our future, an executive position for him, a comfortable home for us, a new car, and annual trips to sun-kissed beaches. I believed every word, supporting him while I worked as a bookkeeper for a small company, meticulously managing our bills as he built his career. But reality was far harsher. His so-called career involved endless nights out with friends, Friday poker games that drained our savings, and hollow promises of "just you wait and see." The door finally burst open, and Andre stumbled into the hallway, his shoulder colliding with the coat rack. Jackets cascaded to the floor in a heap. "Shh," I whispered urgently, glancing back at Aaliyah, who had just fallen asleep. He turned his hazy gaze toward me, and I immediately sensed something was off. This wasn't just intoxication. It was rage, a volatile anger seeking an outlet. "Fell asleep," he mocked in a slurred voice. "Of course she did. All she ever does is sleep and eat, just like you." My stomach twisted. "Andre, what happened?" He brushed past me into the kitchen, yanking open the refrigerator door with a loud crash that rattled the contents inside. "What happened?" Like you don't know. It's all your fault. His words were laced with venom. I don't understand, I replied, my voice steady despite the rising panic. He whirled around so abruptly that I flinched instinctively. I got fired. That's what happened. My heart plummeted. Fired. How would we cover the rent? My salary alone was insufficient, and we still had the looming loan payments for the washer and dryer we had purchased on credit. Andre will figure something out. You'll find another job. I can take on more side work. Side work? He let out a harsh, grating laugh that echoed through the small space. Who needs you? A dumb broad with a kid dragging her down. The insult stung, but I tried to de-escalate. Don't talk like that in front of Aliyah. In front of Aliyah? He jabbed a finger toward the bedroom. She'll grow up just the same, an apple off the tree. Both of you are anchors around my neck. If it weren't for you and your kid, I'd have been an executive long ago. My kid? She's our kid, I protested, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. Mine? No, yours. He spat the words as if Aliyah's existence was solely my burden. My mistake. Andre, please, you're drunk. Let's talk in the morning. I reached out to touch his shoulder, hoping to soothe him, but he shoved me away with such force that my back slammed against the doorframe, sending a jolt of pain through my spine. Don't touch me. I'm sick of you. 4 years. 4 years you've been sucking the life out of me. At that moment, Aliyah woke from the commotion, her cries piercing the air. There, Andre snarled, pointing accusingly. That's all it ever does. Scream. I can't take it anymore. He stormed into the bedroom, and I hurried after him, my heart racing. He flung open the closet and began hurling my belongings onto the floor. Dresses, sweaters, underwear, in a frenzy. Andre, stop it! I pleaded, but he ignored me. He grabbed the go bag I had used for the hospital when Aliyah was born and started stuffing her things into it, snowsuits, onesies, diapers. Aliyah's screams intensified from her crib, and I tried to comfort her. But my hands trembled uncontrollably. You can't kick us out. This is our apartment. It's rented in my name. The lease is under me. Get out. He was right. I hadn't thought twice about it when we signed the lease years ago. We were family. What difference did it make? Andre seized my elbow, dragging me toward the door. I wrenched free and rushed back to Aliyah, scooping her into my arms and holding her close. You're a dumb broad, he yelled, his face contorted with fury. And your daughter will be one too. Get out. I don't want to look at either of you. He shoved us into the hallway, tossing the bag of belongings, and my coat after us before slamming the door shut with finality. I pounded on it, screaming and crying, but there was no response. The neighbors remained silent behind their doors. They had witnessed Andre's drunken outbursts before and knew better than to intervene. Aliyah sobbed in my arms, and I stood there in my thin house pants and top, the cold seeping in, realizing this was truly the end. I stumbled outside because the hallway was nearly as frigid as the street. The flickering light bulb above the entrance cast eerie shadows, and tiny pellets of snow fell like needles whipped by the biting wind. I had only $11 in my pocket, and my phone was still inside the apartment. Andre hadn't given me a chance to grab it. Aliyah's cries quieted, and she stared up at me with her huge gray eyes, a look that terrified me more than the freezing air. I couldn't afford to break down. I didn't have the luxury of surrender. I had my child to protect. With no other options, I headed toward the bus stop, thoughts swirling in my mind. I couldn't go to my mother in Charlotte, North Carolina. That was a 6-hour bus ride, and a ticket cost over $200, far beyond my means. Friends? Andre had systematically isolated me from them, criticizing each one until they faded away. This one calls too often. That one's a bad influence. The third looks at me funny, the only place I could think of that was open late at night. Requiring no money or ID was the Greyhound station. The bus ride there cost $3, leaving me with $8. I clutched Aliyah tighter against the cold and began walking the remaining distance when the bus route ended short. The station welcomed me with harsh fluorescent lights, a semblance of warmth and the sharp scent of bleach. Stepping inside, the tension in my body eased slightly. At least we wouldn't freeze to death here. The place was sparsely populated. A few travelers dozed on plastic seats, their belongings clutched close. I chose a bench in the corner, unwrapped Aliyah carefully, and checked her condition. Her lips were tinged blue from the cold, her tiny hands icy. Oh God, I whispered, rubbing her limbs vigorously, blowing warm breath on her fingers, and wrapping her in my coat before holding her against my chest. She whimpered softly, exhausted and hungry. She hadn't eaten in 4 hours, and at her age she needed frequent meals. With my remaining $8, I bought a jelly donut from a vending machine, breaking it into small pieces for her to grasp with her chubby fingers. She ate eagerly, her innocent eyes fixed on me, oblivious to the chaos unfolding around us. "Ma'am, this isn't a homeless shelter." A security guard loomed over me, a young man in a uniform with a rubber baton dangling from his belt. "Please," I begged, my voice cracking. "I have nowhere to go. I have my baby. That's not my problem. This isn't a social services center. Either buy a ticket or get out." Tears welled up as I confessed. "I don't have money for a ticket." "Then get out." Finality in his tone broke me, and tears streamed down my cheeks. Aaliyah gazed up at the guard, confused by his harsh words. "She's with me?" The voice came from the side, low, calm, and male. The guard turned, and so did I. A young black man rose from the adjacent bench, clad in a worn leather jacket, unshaven, with a backpack at his feet. He looked like a wanderer, someone who hitchhiked and slept wherever fate allowed. "We're waiting for a bus," he continued, meeting the guard's eyes steadily. "It's 6 hours away. We'll be quiet." The guard hesitated, something in the stranger's unyielding gaze making him relent. He grunted, muttered, "Just watch yourself," and walked away. The man sat down beside me without a word, maintaining a respectful distance. A minute later he stood, approached the hot beverage machine, and returned with 2 cups. "Tea with sugar. It'll warm you up." My hands shook as I accepted it, spilling a bit. He sat silently again, offering no questions or advice, just his presence, as if sitting with a distraught stranger and her child in a bus station. At night was the most ordinary thing. Aaliyah, warmed by my body and lulled by fatigue, fell asleep in my arms. Overwhelmed, I began to cry quietly, shoulders heaving, tears dripping into my teacup. The man handed me a paper napkin without looking, a simple gesture of kindness. "Thank you," I whispered, wiping my eyes. "Cry," he said softly. "It's okay. But then act." I turned to him. His face was ordinary, perhaps in his early 30s, with tired but intelligent eyes. "Who are you?" I asked. "A person who also sat in this station once, without a dime. A long time ago, but I remember." "And what did you do?" "Got up and started walking. Step by step. There were no other options." He fell silent, and I didn't press further. The quiet between us wasn't oppressive. It was comforting, like having someone who understood without needing explanations. After a while, he pulled a simple white business card from his pocket. Only a phone number, printed in plain black font. No name or title. "If you don't find a place tomorrow, call this. It's a shelter for women with children. They'll help." I took the card, the word "thank you" feeling inadequate once more. He nodded. Exhaustion overtook me, and I must have dozed off, because when I awoke, gray dawn light filtered through the dirty windows, and the bench beside me was empty. Only his discarded teacup remained. I hadn't even learned his name. At 7 a.m., as Aaliyah stirred and whimpered with hunger, I dialed the number. A woman's voice answered, listening patiently before providing an address on the city's outskirts, 3 bus stops away. I had no fare, but the driver, an older, black man with graying hair, waved me through with a compassionate, "Go on through, sister." The shelter, called the Haven, was a 2-story building behind a high fence. Clean porch, curtained windows, warm light spilling out. An older woman in a strict gray dress opened the door, her gray hair in a bun, her gaze piercing like an X-ray. "Morgan?" "Miss Evelyn Price, the director. Come in. We'll feed the baby right now." She spoke briskly, without pity or condescension. She led me to a small room with 2 beds and a crib. "This is yours for 3 months. Dining hall downstairs. Breakfast in an hour. Daycare in the next wing. Questions?" I had countless, but voiced only one. "Why 3 months?" "Because that's how long you have to find a job and housing. We'll help, but we won't carry you. After that, you're on your feet or you free up space for the next." Her tone was harsh but honest. No cruelty, just reality. "I will find a job," I declared. She assessed me for a long moment. "We'll see," and she left. Over the next week, I learned about the Haven, operational for 5 years. aiding hundreds of women fleeing abuse or eviction. They offered legal aid, counseling, and free daycare. But the funding was mysterious. An anonymous benefactor deposited massive sums monthly. No strings attached. "Who is he?" I asked Miss Price. "I don't know and I don't want to. As long as it comes, we help." Within 2 weeks, I secured a job cleaning the Onyx Tower Business Center from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., scrubbing floors, dusting offices, emptying trash. The pay was modest but official. Evenings, I took on bookkeeping side gigs, 3 clients, then 5, then 8. Nights blurred into ledgers on my laptop while Aaliyah slept nearby. I averaged 4 hours of sleep, lost 17 pounds. Dark circles etched under my eyes, but I persisted. I dropped Aaliyah at daycare at 5:30 a.m., picking her up by 3 p.m. She adapted, no longer crying at drop-off, babbling new words. "Mama, and give, Dolly." "No," she never said daddy. 2 months in, a peculiar job offer arrived. A client, an auto repair shop owner, recommended me to an acquaintance, needing a remote bookkeeper for Apex. Development, a small construction, firm with scattered projects. The client communicated solely via email, no calls, no meetings. The pay was triple market rate, demanding absolute transparency, no shady dealings. I accepted, and on day 3, I uncovered fraud. The prior bookkeeper had embezzled brazenly, inflated estimates, fake purchases. Ghost payroll, $125,000 siphoned in 6 months. Staring at the screen, I debated silence. It wasn't my mess, and the salary was good, but the stranger's words echoed. Cry, but then act. I compiled a detailed report with evidence and sent it. The response came swiftly. "Thank you. You're the first to notice. I want to meet. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Riverside Bistro on the Chattahoochee River." That night, sleep evaded me, scenarios racing. Who was this? A test? Blame? At 1 p.m., I left Aaliyah at daycare, donned my only decent dark green dress, and headed to the cozy riverside spot. Inside, by the window, sat the stranger from the station, unshaven. In the worn jacket, coffee and tablet before him. He looked up. "Sit down, Morgan. I think we have something to talk about." I sat down across from the man who had quietly appeared like a shadow of kindness that freezing night at the Greyhound station. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The Riverside Bistro felt almost too peaceful. The gentle murmur of the Chattahoochee, river outside the window, soft jazz floating from hidden speakers, sunlight dancing on the water like scattered diamonds. But inside me everything was chaos. "It was you," I whispered, the words escaping before I could stop them. He gave one slow nod. "Yes?" I stared at him, trying desperately to connect the dots. The unshaven face, the worn leather jacket, the backpack at his feet that night. He had looked like any other weary traveler. Now he sat here telling me he owned Apex Development. And not just Apex. "My name is Darius Benton," he said calmly. "I imagine you have questions." Questions? I had an avalanche of them. The plain white business card with only a phone number. The women's shelter that had taken us in without hesitation. The strangely generous remote bookkeeping job that had appeared through a chain of coincidences that suddenly felt anything but coincidental. And now this man, who had sat beside me in silence while I cried into cheap tea, was revealing he was the invisible hand behind it all. "Were you following me?" My voice came out smaller than I intended, half fear, half disbelief. Darius shook his head. "No, I gave you the shelter card and then I let it go. I didn't look for you. A few weeks later, my assistant told me we urgently needed a new remote bookkeeper. The previous one had quit without notice. I told him to find someone reliable, preferably through personal recommendations. Your name came up. Atlanta is smaller than people realize. The owner of the auto repair shop whose accounts you handle is someone I've known for years. He spoke very highly of you. I didn't connect the dots until I saw Morgan Sterling on the contract. A waiter appeared without being summoned and placed, a cup of black coffee in front. Of me, no sugar, just how I liked it. I hadn't ordered. Darius gave the man the slightest nod and he disappeared again. "So, what happens now?" I asked, wrapping my cold hands around the warm mug like it was an anchor. "Why did you want to meet me in person?" "Because you found the theft," he answered simply. 3 separate people reviewed those same financial documents. In the 6 months before you, our internal auditor an external financial consultant, and a third-party accounting firm. None of them flagged anything suspicious, or if they did, they chose silence. You wrote a full report. You attached screenshots, transaction logs, everything. You didn't have to. You could have kept quiet and collected your unusually good pay. He leaned forward just slightly, his tired eyes studying me with quiet intensity. Why didn't you? I lifted one shoulder in a small shrug. Because stealing is wrong, and pretending not to see it is almost as bad. Even when staying quiet would have been easier, safer, more profitable. Profit isn't the only thing that matters. For the first time since I'd sat down, the faintest trace of a smile touched his mouth. Not wide, not performative, just a brief softening at the corners. I need someone like that working directly for me, he said. Not remote, in-house, financial analyst position. Base salary $7,500 per month. Full benefits package, health insurance, paid vacation, sick leave. Corporate daycare in the same building, open until 9 p.m. for late working parents. $7,500. The number landed like a physical blow. Right now, I was scraping together $900, a month scrubbing floors at the Onyx Tower, plus another $2,500 from side bookkeeping gigs when clients actually paid on time. $7,500 a month meant real rent instead of a shared room at the shelter, groceries without counting every dollar, new winter boots for Aaliyah when her current ones got too tight, doctor visits without panic, a savings account that might actually grow instead of staying at zero. I swallowed hard. I don't take handouts. This isn't charity, Darius replied firmly. It's a job, demanding, long hours, sometimes 12 or 14. Travel when projects require it, deep dive audits. Weekly reports? I expect precision. I ask hard questions. I do not tolerate sloppiness or excuses. You would earn every dollar. I met his gaze. Then why me? I have no corporate experience, no fancy degree. I'm just a bookkeeper who got lucky finding side work. You're an honest bookkeeper, he said. In my world, that's rarer and more valuable than another MBA with polished lies. He finished his coffee, placed several bills on the table to cover both drinks, and stood up. Think about it until tomorrow morning. If you decide yes, here is my actual business card. He slid a crisp white card across the table. Darius Benton, CEO, Catalyst Holdings. The logo was clean, understated, but I knew the name instantly. One of the most powerful, privately held development and logistics companies in the Southeast. He paused at the door. One last thing. I don't want gratitude for what happened at the bus station. I did what any decent human being should do when they see a mother and child in trouble. You owe me nothing. If you say no to the job, I will respect that completely. Then he walked out. I returned to the haven in something like a trance. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling while Aaliyah slept peacefully in the crib beside me. Around 5 a.m., unable to pretend I could rest, I went to the kitchen. Miss Evelyn Price found me there, hunched over a mug of cold tea, lost in thought. Talk, she said, sitting down across from me without ceremony. I told her the entire conversation, from the Riverside Bistro to the $7,500 offer. She listened without interrupting, arms folded, face unreadable. When I finished, she asked only one question. What's stopping you? I don't know what he really wants, I admitted in a small voice. Maybe this is some kind of setup. Rich men don't just hand out high-paying jobs to women they met in a bus station unless they expect something in return. You know how it goes? Miss Price's eyes narrowed. Did you ask him directly? No. Then ask, face-to-face if possible, over the phone if not. If he answers honestly and clearly, that tells you something. If he dodges, gets defensive, or turns it into a joke, you walk away, no second chances. But sitting here imagining every possible motive is a waste of energy. Pride is valuable, Morgan, but pride doesn't buy diapers or pay rent. You're killing yourself right now, 17-hour days just to keep your head above water. How many more years can your body take that? If this is a real door opening, step through it. But set the boundaries yourself. Make the rules. If he crosses them, you leave. Clean break, done. I stared at the table for a long time. The next morning at 8:45, I dialed the number on the Catalyst Holdings card. I accept the position, I said when he answered. Silence for a second. Then, conditions? 2-month probation. Strictly professional, no personal involvement of any kind. If I ever feel pressure, expectation, or anything that crosses that line, I leave immediately. No discussion, no drama. Another brief pause. Agreed. Anything else? Yes. I want to know who I'm really working for. You said you were once in that bus station, too. What did that mean? A longer silence this time. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. That's a long story. I'll tell you when the time is right. Start Monday, 9 a.m. The address is on the card. Welcome to Catalyst Holdings. He ended the call. Monday, I arrived at the Onyx Tower at 8:30, nerves jangling. The security guard scanned my new ID, issued a permanent badge, and waved me toward the elevators. The receptionist on the 6th floor greeted me by name with a bright smile. Morgan, right this way. Office 601. The mirrored elevator showed me a woman who looked too thin, too tired. Wearing the only decent suit I owned, bought on clearance. I felt like an intruder among all the tailored suits and designer briefcases. But I repeated Miss Price's words like a mantra. On your terms. Office 601 was large but surprisingly plain. Big desk, conference table, computer setup, shelves of files, no marble, no gold trim. Darius was already there in a simple button-down shirt, sleeves rolled, unshaven as always. Sit, he said. I'll brief you. For the next 2.5 hours, he laid out the empire he had built. 5 flagship companies under the Catalyst umbrella, dozens of subsidiaries and joint ventures, hundreds of millions in active contracts, thousands of employees across multiple states. He had started with nothing 15 years earlier and grown it step by painful step. Your role is financial forensic analysis, he finished. Trace every dollar, find the leaks before they become floods. Audit vendors, subcontractors, internal departments. Identify people gaming the system. They exist in every large organization. Your job is to see them when others don't or won't. Why me specifically? I asked again. You have auditors, compliance teams, forensic accountants. They follow checklists and software flags. You look at numbers like a story. You spot the parts that don't make sense. You proved it at Apex. Do it here. He stood. Let me show you your office. My workspace was smaller but bright. High floor, city view. A brand new laptop waited, already configured with my login. Next to it sat a small framed photo of Aaliyah smiling at the shelter daycare. I hadn't placed it there. The first weeks were brutal. I arrived at 7:45 most mornings, left between 9:30 and 11 p.m. I dropped Aaliyah at corporate daycare at 5:45 a.m. and picked her up by 8:30 p.m. on late nights. The facility was extraordinary. Sunlit rooms, gentle teachers, fresh meals, learning toys. Aaliyah stopped clinging to me at drop-off. She started coming home with stories. Maggie shared her crayon. Dean made a tall tower. Stella likes blue best. At work, the atmosphere was frostier. I felt eyes on me constantly. Whispers drifted from break rooms and copy machines. She came out of nowhere. Boss hired her himself. No interview. Must be sleeping with him. How else? I pretended not to hear. I buried myself in data, cross-referencing invoices, vendor payments, payroll runs. I ignored the gossip and focused on the numbers. 1 month in, I found the second leak. Eugene Perry, logistics director, had been skimming for years. Shell transportation companies, inflated fuel surcharges, kickbacks disguised as consulting fees. Total take, approximately $750,000 over 3 years. I compiled the evidence meticulously, bank transfers, email trails, contract discrepancies, and sent the report directly to Darius at 11:47 p.m. The next afternoon, Eugene Perry appeared in my doorway. Tall, late 50s, heavy build, expensive watch. The kind of man used to intimidating people with silence and a stare. Morgan Ann Sterling, he said, reading my nameplate slowly. I hear you've been digging in my department. Yes? He stepped inside without invitation and closed the door. You're new here. You don't understand how things work yet. These little discrepancies exist in every logistics operation. It's industry standard. Everyone takes a cut. You make waves, you drown. I said nothing. He placed a thick envelope on my desk. $25,000, cash, forget the report. Walk away. I looked at the envelope, then at him. $50,000, he said. Last offer. I stood up slowly. Get out of my office. His face darkened. You don't know who you're dealing with, girl. I have friends in high places, police, IRS, city council. I can make your life very difficult. Think about your daughter. Leave now. He leaned over the desk, voice low. You'll regret this. Then he walked out, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. My hands shook for 20 minutes afterward, But I didn't change a single line in the report. Eugene Perry was gone a week later. Quiet resignation. No public scandal. Rumor was Darius gave him a choice. Repay every cent and leave, or face criminal charges and civil suits. He chose the money route. After that, the whispers changed flavor. She took down Eugene Perry. Don't mess with her. She's protected. It hurt to hear, but I told myself they were projecting their own values onto me. They didn't know me. They only knew fear. Darius never mentioned the incident. Our interactions stayed purely professional. He addressed me formally in meetings, reviewed my reports with sharp but fair questions, never once hinted at anything personal. Yet the small gestures continued. A jar of premium cinnamon appeared beside the new coffee machine. A first-edition book on forensic accounting materialized on my desk after I mentioned wanting to study it. Aaliyah's favorite animal crackers were always stocked in the daycare snack room. I didn't know what to make of it all. 3 months passed. One late evening, I was finishing the Vestum audit when Darius appeared in my doorway. Still here? Just wrapping up. He lingered. Can I ask something personal? I braced myself. Go ahead. Are you still living at the Haven? No, I rent a small room nearby. I'm saving aggressively for a mortgage down payment. A room? His brow creased. Not even a one-bedroom yet? Not yet, but I'm close. He nodded, looking like he wanted to say more, but held back. What? I asked. Nothing. I'm just glad you're building something solid. You're doing well. I'm surviving, I corrected softly. Not strong, just stubborn. Same difference. He started to leave, then stopped. You wanted to know why I was at the bus station that night. If you're still curious, Saturday. Piedmont Park, just a walk. A bench, no pressure. Aaliyah can come too. I searched his face for any hidden agenda. Found none. Okay, I said. Saturday. The office atmosphere at Catalyst Holdings shifted after Eugene Perry's abrupt exit. The whispers didn't vanish. They never really do in a place where power and money circulate like blood, but they changed. What had once been speculative gossip, who is she? How did she get so close so fast? Turned into something more guarded, almost wary. She took down Eugene. Quietly, cleanly, no drama. Don't get on her bad side. She sees everything. I hated that people feared me. I wasn't there to intimidate or play power games. I was there to protect the company. Darius had built from people who would bleed it dry one small, clever theft at a time. So I kept working. Longer hours, deeper dives into vendor contracts, payroll anomalies, expense reimbursements. I let the numbers tell the story and ignored the sidelong glances. 3 months passed like pages turning too quickly. Aaliyah was blooming in the corporate daycare. She came home every evening with new words, new drawings, new friends' names she recited proudly. Maggie drawed a cat today. Dean shared his truck. Stella likes purple best. The facility was a miracle. Bright, safe, nurturing. I once overheard a mother in the lobby complaining about the 3-year waiting list and the 6-figure annual cost for non-employees. I hadn't even applied. It had simply been included in the job package. Small, thoughtful gestures kept appearing without explanation. A premium cinnamon grinder next to the coffee station, after I'd casually mentioned loving the flavor in a team meeting. A rare first-edition copy of a forensic accounting textbook left on my desk after I'd said I wanted to study advanced techniques. No card. No signature. When I thanked the administrative assistant, she just smiled and said, "Department supply." Except there was no department, just me. Darius never crossed the line I'd drawn. Our interactions remained crisp, professional, focused entirely on work. He called me Miss Sterling in meetings, asked precise questions about my reports, praised good catches with a simple "well done," and left it at that. Yet I noticed how he always ensured Aaliyah's favorite fruit pouches were restocked in the daycare, how he asked, almost offhandedly, whether she was sleeping through the night. Now that she'd adjusted to the routine, he never pushed. He simply noticed, cared, quietly. One Thursday evening I stayed late again, finalizing the Vestum project audit. The building was mostly empty, corridors dim under emergency lighting. Darius appeared in my doorway, sleeves rolled, no tie, looking more like the man from the bus station than the CEO everyone feared. "Still here?" he asked. "Almost done," I replied, rubbing tired eyes. He leaned against the frame for a moment. "Can I ask something not related to work?" I tensed. "You can ask. Are you still at the Haven?" "No, I moved into a rented room a few blocks away last month. Small, but it's mine. I'm saving every extra dollar for a mortgage down payment. A room? His brow furrowed slightly. Not even a proper apartment yet? Not yet. But I'm getting there, step by step. He nodded slowly, as though weighing something heavy. I'm glad you're building something solid. You're doing more than surviving now. You're strong. I'm not strong, I said quietly. I'm just too stubborn to quit. A faint smile touched his mouth. That's exactly what strength looks like. He started to turn away, then paused. You asked once why I was sitting in that bus station the night we met. If you still want to know, Saturday. Piedmont Park, just a walk. A bench. No expectations. Bring Alia if you want. I searched his face. No agenda, no pressure. Just honesty. Okay, I said. Saturday. Saturday morning was clear and cool. Alia ran ahead on the park path, giggling as she chased pigeons. Darius wore faded jeans and a plain jacket. Nothing flashy. Nothing that screamed billionaire. We walked slowly, letting her set the pace. He began without ceremony. I grew up in group homes. No memory of parents. My mother overdosed when I was 3. Father unknown. The homes were hard. Older kids took what they wanted. Staff hit when they felt like it. I learned not to cry. Then I learned to fight. Then I learned to think ahead so I wouldn't have to fight. Alia ran back, holding out a smooth riverstone. Darius crouched, turned it over in his hand, and told her seriously, "This is a very good one. Keep it," she beamed and dashed off again. At 18, they gave me a certificate, $500, and 6 months in a transitional hostel. After that, nothing. I lost the room fast. No skills, no references, no network. I scraped by on day labor until even that dried up. Ended up at the Greyhound station. That station. Same benches. I stayed 4 nights. Ate whatever I could find in trash bins. On the 5th night, I decided I was finished feeling sorry for myself. I got up and started walking. And you found something? I asked. Loading trucks at the farmer's market. Low pay, but they fed the workers. The owner was tough, complicated. 6 months later, he offered me a faster way up. The kind of offer that comes with blood on it. Crime? He nodded once. I refused. They beat me until I couldn't stand. 3 broken ribs, bruised kidney, 2 months in the hospital. Best thing that ever happened. I looked at him in surprise. In that hospital bed, I had time to think. I decided I would become richer than every one of them, but I would do it clean. No violence, no theft, no dirty shortcuts. I would prove another path existed. Did you? He gave a small, dry laugh. Judge for yourself. Started small, buying broken electronics, fixing them, reselling. Moved to apartment flips. Then small construction jobs. Lost it all twice. Started over each time. Now I'm 34. Catalyst Holdings. Thousands of employees. Billions in contracts. And the haven. He nodded toward the path. The shelter exists. Because I remember what it feels like to sit in a bus station at 3 a.m. believing the world has already written you off. We reached the pond. Alia threw breadcrumbs to the ducks. Breadcrumbs. Darius had brought in his pocket. She laughed when one snatched a piece right from her tiny fingers. The strangest part? He said softly. I have money, houses, cars, power, but no family. No real friends. People see the billionaire and want a piece. No one sees the man. I watched my daughter, watched the ducks, watched the quiet man beside me who had walked through hell and still chose to help strangers. I see you, I said. He turned to me, surprise flickering in his eyes. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. How to talk to a woman. How to build something that isn't a company. I spent my life learning business and forgot how to learn love. But if you give me a chance, I'll try. I'll learn. I stayed silent for a long time. I'm not ready yet, I said finally. Not for everything. I need more time. He nodded. I'll wait. We stood there together, watching Alia laugh. Watching the sunset paint the water gold. For the first time in years, peace settled inside me like a quiet guest. Then the past returned like a storm. Andre filed for custody of Alia. Not child support. Full custody. The court papers arrived like a punch to the stomach. The man who had thrown us into sub-zero cold now claimed he wanted to provide stability for his daughter. My lawyer called it textbook extortion. He didn't want her. He wanted cash. He dropped the suit for $25,000, $50,000. I didn't have that money. We went to court. I didn't tell Darius. This was my battle. The courtroom felt suffocating. Andre sat opposite in a poorly fitted suit, clean-shaven, trying to look reformed. His lawyer, expensive glasses, expensive watch, painted me as unfit, unstable income history, shelter resident, alienating the child from her father. The father, he argued, was turning his life around and wanted to give Aliyah a complete family. I told the truth. That freezing January night, the eviction, the insults, calling his own daughter a dumb broad. I showed daycare records, rent receipts, character letters. Every point countered smoothly. Hearsay, lack of corroboration, parental alienation. The judge, a weary woman in her 50s, seemed to lean toward him. Then the doors opened. Darius entered silently and took a seat in the back row. The judge looked up. Recognition flashed across her face. She paled slightly. "Continue," she told the lawyer, but her tone had changed. After recess, the questions turned sharp. Why no contact for a full year? Why no support payments? What was his current employment? Andre stammered. His lawyer tried to redirect. She shut him down. 1 hour later, custody remained with me. Supervised visitation only, in my presence. Retroactive child support ordered for the full year. Andre stormed out, slamming the door. Darius approached slowly. "Why did you come?" I asked. "I didn't ask for help." "You didn't have to," he said. "I couldn't watch someone good be crushed because they chose honesty." "The judge knew you. I funded the courthouse renovation last year. Several of her community programs. She drew her own conclusions. You intimidated her." "No, I sat." She decided. I was quiet. "You're angry," he said. "Maybe. You stepped into my fight without permission." "Yes, and I'd do it again. Watching you destroyed was unbearable. If that's wrong, I apologize." Long silence. "Thank you," I whispered. Outside, spring rain fell softly. He stopped on the steps. "I'm still waiting," he said. "Whenever you're ready." I reached out and took his hand. He froze for a heartbeat, then held on gently. We stood in the rain, silent. It wasn't yes, but it was no longer no. 1 year later, I stood in front of the mirror in my own 2-bedroom apartment, mortgage in my name. Good neighborhood, nothing extravagant but mine. I had refused Darius's offer to help with the down payment, refused his invitation to move into his riverfront house. "Someday," I told him, "when I'm ready." He waited. Tonight was the Atlanta Charity Gala at the Fairmont. Darius avoided these events. He hated publicity. But this year his anonymity had cracked. Press discovered he funded the Haven and 10 other major initiatives. Philanthropist of the Year nomination. No refusing. He asked me to attend as his date, publicly, for the first time. I wore the emerald dress, simple silver hoops, his birthday gift to me, low heels. Aliyah watched from the bed. "Mama pretty." Darius arrived with wildflowers for Aliyah. She clutched them, running in circles. "Flowers! I got flowers!" He looked at me, paused, something raw in his eyes. "You're beautiful." "Thank you." He offered his hand. "Ready?" "No, but let's go." The Fairmont sparkled. Red carpet, cameras, gowns, tuxedos. Whispers followed us inside. "That's Benton." "Who's she?" Darius ignored them, guiding me to a quiet window corner. "I hate this," he muttered. "The spotlight?" "The performance. Everyone wants something. No one asks how you are." I looked up. "How are you?" He smiled, real, soft. "Right now? Perfect." Then I saw Andre, by the bar, ill-fitting suit. Kiana in too short red, laughing too loudly. A +1 via Vincent Everett. Our eyes met. His glass shattered on marble. Champagne sprayed. Kiana shrieked. He shouldn't have approached. But Andre never learned. He strode over, drink flushed. Morgan Sterling. "Long time." The room hushed. "Andre, leave." "Can't say hello to my ex?" He grinned. "Landed on your feet quick." "Sugar daddy? How much? Nightly rate? Monthly?" Silence spread. Darius stepped forward. "Andre Talbot." Andre flinched. "Insulting your ex-wife is one thing. Insulting me in my city is another." Andre paled. The same Andre who stole $35,000 4 years ago, covered by Vincent Everett. Vincent nearby froze. "Lies," Andre stammered. "I have the police report, restitution agreement. Want me to show everyone?" Andre silent. "You threw this woman and your infant daughter into rhythm weather. Called your child a dumb broad, zero support for a year. Tried to blackmail her for custody cash. And now you lecture morality?" Darius pulled his phone. "I have your call to a creditor. You'll pay him back after scamming the dumb broad." "Shall I play it?" Acoustics here are excellent. Andre trembled. You wouldn't? I would. But I won't. You're not worth the time. You're a small, pathetic man pretending to be big. Security approached. Leave, and never come near Morgan or Aaliyah again. I will ruin you, legally, financially, socially. You won't sweep streets here. Guards escorted him out. Kiana followed, furious. The room exhaled. Darius turned to me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. No, I said. It was exactly right. Later on stage, Darius spoke awkwardly. I don't like speeches, but I grew up in group homes. I know what it's like when no one cares. That's why I give, not for awards. Because once in a bus station, a stranger gave me bread. Just because, and I survived. He looked at me. This belongs to every woman who rose after falling. Every mother who fought for her child. Every person who refused to quit. He lifted the award. To my Morgan. Standing ovation. Tears on my face. Afterward, in the car outside my building. I've wanted to ask for a long time, he said. Ask. Are you ready? Not marriage. Not yet, just us. Truly together. I looked at this man who remembered hunger. Who helped because he could. Who waited without pressure. Yes, I said. I'm ready. He exhaled like he'd held his breath for years. May I kiss you? I laughed softly. Yes. Gentle, careful, real. 6 months later, Miami Beach. Small bright house. Porch swing. Aaliyah building castles. Darius helping. Darius, tower here. Yes, Your Majesty. I watched them, remembering the bus station, $7, freezing terror. Now, waves, laughter, love, a simple ring engraved inside, step by step. He proposed at sunset. I said yes. Andre came once more, broken, begging. I gave him $3,000. Not forgiveness for him, closure for me. Then I closed the door and walked forward, step by step. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story touched you, like, subscribe. Comment your city and time. I read them all. New stories every day. See you tomorrow.